You know, after a long layoff, it has to be said for the GT Cup Open, but we're back nonetheless, and it's great to be back because we've got a championship fight that's currently outstanding. Jan Larison currently at the top at this moment, 75 points to his name, with Dirk Schouten currently in second with his teammate Lucas Valkra. John de Wilder up there in the mix as well, who has been absolutely sensational. But we are here at the Temple of Speed at Monza, at the heart of Emilia-Romagna. Sorry, not the heart of Emilia-Romagna, that's similar. We're at Monza, here at the Temple of Speed at Monza. My name is George Morgan. Joining me in the commentary box is Ian Silvestri. Ian, pleasure to be here.
Thank you, George. It certainly is. Despite the weather this morning, we are at the home of Italian motorsport, the circuit, which just a few weeks ago celebrated one centenary of motorsport. GT Cup qualifying out on the circuit, of course. They had the bye when the GTOpen International Championship raced at the Red Bull Ring 2 weeks ago in Austria. As you look at one of the local drivers, Stefano Zerbi in one of the Porsches out on the circuit. Last year, you may remember that the GT Cup category raced within the GTOpen International Championship. This afternoon, or this weekend, in fact, they have got the track to themselves. As you look at the series leader and the odds-on favourite for the 2022 GT Cup Championship, this is the Belgian Jan Larison, the Q1 track racing car behind. Jan Larison is in P1 in the championship on 75 points. Dirk Schouten, P2 on 68. 20-minute qualifying session here this morning. The rain, well, it is forecast to bucket down this weekend. It's just light showers at the moment as you look at Dirk in position 2 in the championship. Yeah,
incredible story really, because Jan Larison, despite being top of the championship, has only qualified pole once, and that was the second session at Hungary, and hasn't scored a pole other than that. But Dirk Schouten, he scored 3, currently sits second in the driver's standings right now, alongside teammate and colleague Lucas Valkra. So plenty of stories certainly in amongst this grid order, but nevertheless it's going to be thrilling to say the least. And we have got some new drivers here this weekend as well, which is great to see. Ria Lucas stepping in for the 76 team this weekend. 11 cars make up the grid order here for the GT Cup Open this weekend, and we've got Julian Darris bringing back the 007, James Bond that is, in the Aston Martin as well. Great to see them here this weekend. 2 category colour codes as well for those of you who may be joining us for the first time. Pro-Am and Am being green and Pro-Am being the blue, of course. Pro-Am, it's a mixture of Am drivers and Pro drivers, and Am drivers being your Am driver category. So great to see these drivers all out and about here in what must be said a very wet race weekend here at Monza. The rain is tumbling down, the cars having to get well versed to this circuit. There is Julian Darris in the Aston Martin, the Street Art Racing team, who have had to bring a spare car this weekend after their last one got a little bit crunched.
Around about 24 hours ago, we saw the sister car come back on the back of the recovery vehicle. It was, well, fairly destroyed. This is a spare car, the 007 machine. Effectively, the GT Cup cars are basically GT4 specification racing cars, as opposed to GT3 spec in GT International. But in the rain, as we saw in 2021, well, it was the great leveler. We had the GT Cup cars mixing it outright with the GTOpen cars, so basically GT4 racing wheel-to-wheel with GT3 cars. It is great to see the Aston out on circuit. We just saw a few moments ago also the Lamborghini of the 76 racing team, the Cypriot British combination, Ria Lucas and Charlie Holdings in car 76 for Team 76. 1 quarter way through qualifying session. This qualifying race 1 as Laurent van der Velde builds up speed. One of multiple Belgian drivers in the series. Back with us, of course, the series kicked off at the start of the year at Paul Ricard in the south of France as Laurent van der Velde makes his way down into the Ascari chicane. From there to Spa-Francorchamps, Hungary. This is round 4 of 5, and of course the series concludes in a few weeks' time at Barcelona. Quite a few drivers from the Benelux region are racing in the Bell Car Series and joining us for the GT Cup Championship, including Laurent van der Velde, who's about to cross the line in a few moments to record his first flying lap. The track conditions for the moment obviously wet, but not too bad. They are, well, let's be optimistic, they're acceptable for the moment.
Joan Vignes just going third fastest now. Eugenio Pisani holds the top time at 2:10. 1:00.004. That is the time to beat. 1.2 seconds then back to John de Wilder, who has been a sensation in the AM category, has taken quite a significant number of big results. Lauren van der Velde goes 5th fastest. Dirk shoots and shoots for the stars immediately. First fastest, 6.1 seconds the gap between him and Eugenio Pisani. So Dirk Schuten, normal service has been resumed, to say the least. But looking back at FP1 and FP2, Jan Larijsen went fastest of all in our first session of practice. Eugenio Pisani and Stefano Zanini going fastest in FP2 as well. Great to see Charlie Hollings in this grid as well, because he competed in the GTOpen this year. He was partnering up with Omar Jackson and Kessel Racing Ferrari in that particular championship. Makes his first appearance this weekend for GT Cup.
Yes, Charlie Hollings, extremely experienced, started racing back in 1989, has raced just about everything in the world of sports cars. So we see a moment there from Dirk locking up into the Ascara chicane. That lap is effectively ruined. Charlie Hollings, what, 3 decades of motorsport experience, including Formula 3 racing, has also raced in the World Endurance Championship and just about every GT category championship around the world. Joins us for the penultimate round of GT Cup. Great to have him on the grid. Charlie Hollings sharing the 76 car with Ria Lucas from Cyprus, the country in the middle of the Mediterranean, still part of the British Commonwealth.
Eugenio Pisani going into 3rd fastest, the man who was fastest of all in our second practice session. Dirk Schuten still fastest in the first sector, has lost a little bit of time after that error earlier on in the lap. Jan Larijsen also out on track as well. He's only 0.3 of a second off the pace of Dirk Schuten in the first sector. Giving time though, just needs to get a little bit more burst to the circuit. There's Eugenio Pisani now coming around the Curva Grande. They'll be making his way down through towards the next chicane at the Rogier, as he does now. Comes through this next very, very tricky section. We've seen a few cars make the odd mistake as Vignez goes 3rd fastest, therefore dropping Pisani down into 4th. Lucas then in 5th. So we've got currently Pro-Ams in Ps 1, 2, 4 and 5th. Currently separated by Joe Vignez, who currently holds on to 3rd fastest. Pisani now heading around the Lesmo. And, just 1.1 seconds off the delta of Dirk Schuten, who's currently up at the top end of things. After enlisting a purple 3rd sector, Dirk Schuten once again up at the top end. He has been fastest in qualifying on 3 different occasions already. Will he get his 4th?
We'll find out in just under 12 minutes' time. Eugenio Pisani, former Italian GT champion. Multiple Porsches in the Cup class. Of course, last time out, if you were watching the Red Bull Ring round of the GTOpen International Championship, it was possibly the first GT championship race in living memory that did not feature one car from the Stuttgart manufacturer, and there's 3 on your screen right now, including 1 and 2 on the grid. This is the Poporo Motorsport car. George, interesting to point out, Joan Vignez, position 3 at the moment in car 13. He's a former competitor in the European Rally Championship, vastly experienced in one-make racing as well, but a lot of experience off-road, and in these conditions, that's only going to be an advantage. That could be their trump card this weekend.
It's beneficial, certainly when the rain's tumbling down at Monza, and these corners are very snappy as well. So if you've got any rally driver skills in your locker, I suppose they're going to become very useful at this point. Ria Lucas now 3rd fastest at this point. Jan Larijsen has just gone into 2nd as well, so it's now 1, 2, 3 and 4 for Pro-Am right now. Schuten's still on top, and he's gone fastest again in the 1st and 2nd sectors, and he's finding more and more pace too, as we're now seeing the cars make their way. You can barely see a thing through the mist of rain that we have got here at Monza. Of course, the spray being kicked up by these GT4 cars that are making their way through the circuit of Monza. As you now watch Dirk Schuten now round the Parabolica. Now you can just see, look at the spray being elevated off those rear tyres as he now flies down this next long straight past the paddock and the pit lane on the right-hand side. What's it going to be for Dirk Schuten up towards the line? It's 1st fastest. It's a 2:02.782, enough to enlarge the gap to 2 seconds between him and Jan Larijsen.
Halfway through qualifying 1, Dirk Schuten, position 1. The Belgian, so the championship is still well and truly alive. He's 2nd in the series on 68 points, together with his teammate Lucas Valkyrie and, of course, Jan Larijsen. He is the championship leader, just 7 points ahead. As you look at the Cypriot driver, Ria Lucas, I wonder what the weather is down on the Cypriot island in the middle of the Mediterranean. Certainly nothing like we've got here in the north of Italy, 2 days after the official commencement of autumn in the Northern Hemisphere. Ria Lucas locks up into the Michele Alboreto Parabolica, tries to keep the car on the circuit, just feeds the power in, almost 600 horsepower, the 76, car 76 at Lamborghini from Team 76. Not a bad middle sector. The first, though, he's a little bit off the pace. We'll see where he comes across the line. Remains in position 3. So it is Schouten, Lauritsen, Ria Lucas on your screen down into the first chicane, and Dirk Schouten is flying. Now the water, you can see it, he's starting to build up onto the circuit as he accelerates, massive wheel spin.
Dirk Schouten again going faster again in the second sector. He is absolutely flying and finding time and pace after pace as every sector burns on by. And there you can see Jan Lauritsen as well, the man who currently sits on top of the championship, being hunted down now by Dirk Schouten, who's only 7 points behind him in that championship as well. What a statement this would be for Dirk Schouten to go on to pole yet again this season, as you can now see him round the next right-hander now, and he'll put the power down yet again as now he kicks up the spray, heading down towards the start-finish line. Currently a purple sector 1, purple sector 2. How about a purple sector 3? Will it be? It certainly will be. A 2:02.415. Once again, 2 seconds ahead, near enough 2 seconds ahead of Jan Lauritsen, who sits in second fastest. So he is making some solid improvements, Jan Lauritsen, as he comes up towards the line as well. He nestles in a 2:03.419 and now brings that gap down to a near single second.
8 minutes remaining in qualifying 1 for race 1. Dirk Schouten, position 2 in the championship, but position 1 on the grid at the moment with just over 7.5 minutes remaining. Now the water, the spray, is really starting to build up. The rain falling ever so slightly heavier than it was when the track went green, some 12 or 13 minutes ago, over the chicane. Accelerates, feeds the power on up to the Lesmo curves. So Dirk Schouten in car 53 on provisional pole position for race 1 later this afternoon, which is almost certainly going to be on a wet track. The temperature's not too bad. Again, trying to be optimistic. It's not freezing cold for the moment, in the high teens, but rain is forecast all day. As we take a look at Jan Lauritsen, the championship leader, rides the ripple strip, and yes, there is the rain pouring down here at the home of Italian motorsport.
Absolutely right, and doing well to maintain control of these cars. Obviously, when you're going at the speeds that these drivers are right now, you need to be in control and in check. As we now see the cars make their way through, there's Dirk Schouten currently topping the timing screens right now. A solitary second separating him and Jan Lauritsen at this point. He's gone purple again in the second sector as Dirk Schouten as well, as he heads down through towards the final parts of this lap. And, well, on the timing screen, he's gone purple at this point, but not showing on our screens right now, as we're now watching certainly the car make its way through this next right-hander at the Parabolica. What's Dirk Schouten going to nestle in this time as he now heads up towards the start-finish line? We've got the speed trap at the end of this particular straight as well, with just over 6 minutes still to go. It's a 2:02.899, not quite as fast as what he set earlier on. Quite a gap there, approximately 4/10 separates him and his best time at this point. There's Jan Lauritsen as well, losing time in the second sector. Needs to try and pull that back together as well. But I'm sure he will. A 2:04.174 is what he enlists. Still some work to do at this point, but quite a gap, though a great display from John de Wilde, once again topping the AM category in this classification once again so far. Ever so consistent, John de Wilde, always very, very good behind a Porsche.
Stefano Zerbi in the trophy category, making its debut this weekend, so a class within a class. Out on circuit at the moment in car 9. We've got a glimpse of Joan Vignes, who just exited pit lane ahead of Jan Lauritsen a few moments ago. So we'll see the Enduro, the former competitor in the European Rally Championship, can use his vast experience in these treacherous conditions to his advantage. At the moment in position 5 with 5 minutes remaining on the clock.
Yeah, absolutely right indeed. The timer just hitting 5 minutes now. There is the Aston Martin on into Streetheart. There's Julian Darris behind the wheel, currently sat in 7th place. And now rounding the famed Parabolica curve as well. Great to see the Aston back in the mix in this contingent of what's generally seen to be Porsche cars in the GT Cup. But the Aston Martin making a very nice appearance too. Coming up across the line now, Julian Darris. Is there going to be an improvement for him? Currently sits there with a 2:08.855. No improvement to that P7 lap time. Still sat in behind that of Eugenio Pisani, who holds on the 6th place.
George, interesting to know that the car on your screen and also Ria Lucas in the V10 Lamborghini car, they're going down the main straight and clocking a speed of almost 250 k's an hour. Ria Lucas 246 k's an hour through the speed trap just past the start-finish line. That's what, some 10-15 k's an hour quicker than the multiple Porsches all around him. Of course, Porsche's 1-2 on the grid, but they're some 10 or 15 k's an hour slower in the wet. Julian Darris also quite quick, also over the 240 mark. The rest of them, the Porsches, they're only doing, what, 225, 228, which is still quite impressive. It is quick in a straight line in these conditions.
Yeah, like Jan Larijsen finding purple in sector 3 on his last lap, so he is finding more pace. He's only now just over the 0.6 of a second mark behind Dirk Schouten, so watch out for Jan Larijsen. We only have just over 3.5 minutes remaining at this point, so there could be some last gasp fireworks before the end of this session. There is Julian Darris again, who's trying to find yet more improvements. He's got a little bit more work to do, though. Still 0.8 off in that first sector against that of Eugenio Pisani. You know, see the cars make their way through down towards the start-finish straight as well. The spray once again being kicked up here at Monza. Here is a replay. So we now see... Wow, there you can see that. It just shows from Camel Perrien's view how much water there is on this circuit. We've seen plenty of it get kicked up. The rain continuing to fall. I tell you what, I think that could be a consistent theme, I think, going right through the weekend. I think the way things are going.
It is getting heavier, George. The dying stages of qualifying one for race 1. As you look at Glauco Solieri, what a character Glauco is. Has raced just about everything in the past 2 decades as Ria Lucas in the background shortcuts the chicane, goes straight ahead as he locks up down into turn 1, and that's effectively that lap ruined for the Cypriot. Glauco Solieri at the moment in position 8, has raced just about every GT car there is, also competing in Formula 3000 a decade or 2 ago. At the moment, the Italian in position 8 accelerates as we go back and see car 13. This is the Andorran. We'll see what the rally racer can do. The dying stages of qualifying 1, not a bad lap at the moment. He's in position 5 as he comes across the line. Last time it was a 2:06.491. He will surely improve on that. Well, not by much, and he's still 5th on the grid.
Yeah, not quite enough to unseat that of John de Wilder. He was doing well to hold on to that 4th spot. With Wilder putting in yet another great driver display here in this session. Just got over 1 minute and 30 to go. Schouten still on top. Larijsen in 2nd. Just over 0.6 of a second is all that separates P1 and P2. Lucas there in 3rd as well. Such a heavy gap in between the Pro-Am drivers there, because Lucas there 2.7 seconds behind that of Dirk Schouten. That is the deficit off pole right now. It's Johan Viñez now making his way down through towards the next chicane. Has made improvements again in that first sector, still in 5th place. Nevertheless, we'll look to try and improve. Jan Larijsen now, once again improving on his personal best, but it's still just over 2.5 slower than that of Dirk Schouten in that first spot.
So the final minute of qualifying sees Dirk Schouten at the moment on pole position. 2nd in the championship at P1 on the grid. Jan Larijsen, he's P1 in the championship, but it's an outside front row start with, what, 44 seconds remaining if he can't do anything spectacular on this flying lap. Johan Viñez on your screen, position 5 behind John de Wilder. Ria Lucas in position 3. Car 76 for team 76. The Andorran into the Ascari chicane. Jan Larijsen not too far behind. 20 seconds left on the clock. Schouten, Larijsen fighting for pole position and fighting for the championship. Jan Larijsen just behind. This is Dirk Schouten, the provisional pole sitter. It is not a bad lap from the Andorran in the background. We'll get back to Johan Viñez in a moment. Dirk Schouten exits the Michele Alboreto Parabolica and pulls into pit lane, so he's confident that he'll start from grid 1. There's the checkered flag. Dirk Schouten now simply has to wait. He's P1 at the moment with a 2:02.415 set halfway through the session. Here is Jan Lauritsen across the line. John DeVille there, P5. Lauritsen, P2 can't do it. It's looking good as we wait for Ria Lucas. Also Eugenio Pisani in P6 at the moment. But Dirk Schouten, we're confident in saying that the Belgian has taken pole position for race 1, the penultimate round of the GT Cup Europe Championship for 2022.
Johan Vignez getting up into 4th fastest, unseating that of John de Wilde, so now becoming the fastest AM driver there in that 4th place. But there's Dirk Schouten, a hug there with his colleagues, his fellow teammates, mechanics as well. There'll be all smiles there in the Q1 track racing team in that garage as well. Once again, that will certainly be, I mean, obviously subject to the other cars crossing the line, his 4th pole position this season. And so all smiles as he now goes to his teammates and celebrates with them. We've still got Ria Lucas looking to come across the line as well, going faster in the 2nd sector as well. Laurent van der Velde, 8th fastest, Glanco Solieri, 9th fastest, Camel Perry in 10th, Stefano Zerbi also looking across the line as well, as we watch John de Wilde on our screens, who did come home in 5th fastest as well. Pisani, 6 currently out on track as well, waiting to come in too. But incredible session to say the least. John de Wilde, I think, will take a little bit of comfort knowing he's up there. And there's a car off, stranded. 76 belonging to Ria Lucas, and stuck on the outset. I believe that's coming out of, is that coming out of Parabolica at that point?
It seems to be.
Or could it be Lesmo too?
It could be either. Either way, Ria Lucas has put the Lamborghini 76 on grid 3. George, I need to correct myself. Dirk Schouten is, of course, Dutch. I called him a Belgian driver. Almost akin to calling you an Englishman.
Yeah, we don't take that very kindly. But yeah, nonetheless, here we go. These are the confirmed results. Dirk Schouten in 1st place, takes pole position for the 4th time. Jan Lauritsen in 2nd, with Ria Lucas in 3rd. Johan Vignez in 4th, topping the AM contingent with John de Wilde in 5th. Eugenio Pisani 6th, with Julian Darris in the Aston Martin in 7th. Laurent van der Velde in 8th, with Glanco Solieri in 9th. Camel Perrion sits in 10th fastest, with Stefano Zerbi lining up in 11th place. So that all but confirms Dirk Schouten's 4th pole position this season. A great display, certainly, to that of him. He'll certainly take that all the way now to the race later on, as we have pictures of Ria Lucas coming through. Unfortunately, leading up to the incident towards the end, that car will need to be worked on before the start of the race, but nevertheless, 3rd fastest in this contingent of cars. 2nd fastest, Jan Lauritsen. Great performance indeed from him. Not enough, though, to unseat that of Dirk Schouten. I'm sure those two are going to go together and contend for that top-end spot in the race later on this afternoon. Dirk Schouten, of course, being the man on pole position, once again showing a great display in qualifying with a fastest lap, and he will be down at the garages talking to Alfredo Filipponi.
Dirk Schouten, it's 4 poles out of 4 events. That's not bad, huh?
Yeah, really happy with this one. This one is, of course, a bit special because of the rain. And I love the rain, so yeah, I enjoyed myself out there.
Yeah, of course, being Dutch, you shouldn't be too disturbed or unfamiliar with the conditions.
Yes, of course. With karting, we trained in the rain, so yeah, I get used to it really quickly, so the lap time was good.
How bad were the conditions out there?
They were actually pretty good. There was no aquaplaning or something, and I could just drive normally. I had some moments, but yeah, it was quite okay actually.
So this afternoon, first win?
Yes, let's see. I hope so. Let's make a good start, and we will see.
Well, the first step is done. Well done.
Yes. Grazie.
A te.
Nothing phases that of Dirk Schouten. We'll have to wait and see how he gets on in the race this afternoon. Join us then, folks, when we go live and the checkered flag comes down at Monza.